Grand palaces, cozy tea houses, delicious food, and river views. Welcome to day 5 of our 5-week adventure across South Korea and Japan. We started the morning in Insa-dong, and it was like stepping into a different side of Seoul. The whole neighbourhood has this really charming, traditional vibe, with streets lined with antique shops, pottery stores, clothing boutiques, and so many cafes and tea houses that it's almost impossible to choose where to go. As we wandered through, I kept getting drawn into all the pottery. There were so many beautiful pieces that I really wanted to bring home, but then I remembered I have to fit them in a suitcase and somehow not smash them on all the journeys we were going to take. So sadly, no pottery for me this time. But we did find plenty of other little shops and picked up some cute souvenirs and gifts for friends and family back home. We eventually made our way to Shin Old Tea House on Elle's recommendation and sat down for a few sweet treats and drinks. It had that cozy, traditional aesthetic you'd imagine when you think of a Korean tea house. Warm lighting, wooden interiors, and a peaceful atmosphere that makes you want to slow down and just relax for a while. And the best part is, this area is full of places just like it, so you could easily spend hours hopping between tea houses and cute cafes. While we were waiting for our food, a couple of students came over and offered us some complimentary sweets to try along with a short questionnaire. Of course we said yes straight away. It turned into one of those small, spontaneous travel moments that was quite memorable. We ended up trying a whole range of things, both hot and iced teas, plus some traditional desserts like bingsu, which is shaved ice, yakgwa, a sweet, deep-fried, chewy cookie, and yukgwa, which are light, crispy rice puffs. We had both a red bean top bingsu and this lighter strawberry one. Clearly, I was having a heat stroke, because what is this? I apologise, friends. Anyways, out of everything we tried, my favourite was definitely this red bean bingsu. I don't usually have much of a sweet tooth, so this was perfect. Not overly sugary, but with this really rich, slightly earthy flavour from the red bean that I loved. I don't even remember what we talked about, but the conversation just flowed, and before we knew it, we'd been sitting there chatting for ages. Eventually, we headed out to explore more of Insa-dong. We arrived at Samsigil Market, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is a shopping mall with lots of independent shops and cute artsy craftsy bits across multiple levels. We stumbled upon a cute cat-themed shop, which was my favourite. It had beautifully illustrated cards, stickers, notebooks, and a range of other products. Aren't they adorable? I ended up with a couple fridge magnets, but honestly, I wanted to buy all of it. After some successful shopping, we made our way to our next destination, which was going to be one of the highlights of our day. You'll see. We hopped on the bus for the first time, which I weirdly loved. There's something about using public transport in a new country that makes you feel a little bit more like a local. Plus, I got to do one of my favourite things ever, which is people watching and just quietly taking in everyday life around me. We eventually made it to Gyeongbokgung, home to the iconic Gyeongbokgung Palace. But first, we needed to dress the part. Just outside the palace, there's a whole street lined with hanbok rental shops, so we headed into one to pick our outfits. If you don't know, a hanbok is the traditional Korean dress. For women, it usually features a high-waisted skirt paired with a short jacket, creating this elegant flowing silhouette. Historically, hanboks weren't just about style. They reflected your place in society. Royalty and high-ranking officials wore bold colours, luxurious silks and intricate embroidery, while ordinary people were often limited to simpler designs and more muted tones. So what you wore could instantly say a lot about who you were. Nowadays, it's much more about tradition and celebration. Hanboks are often worn for special occasions and festivals. So coming back to us, we got to choose our own hanboks and a hairstyle to go with it. The owner was incredibly friendly and even gave us parasols, which turned out to be a lifesaver in the heat. And then we were here, the breathtaking Gyeongbokgung Palace. The first thing I noticed was just how vast it was. Even from the entrance, you can see the scale and grandeur, and it's impossible not to imagine the history that unfolded here over the centuries. It was also nice to see lots of other people dressed up too. Gyeongbokgung was originally built in 1395, making it the largest and most important of the 5 grand palaces in Seoul. It was the main royal palace of the Joseon dynasty, which ruled Korea for over 500 years. Much of the palace was actually burnt down and left in ruins for nearly 300 years, and it wasn't until the 19th century that it was rebuilt. Walking through the palace grounds, I felt like a princess in a K-drama. The wide courtyards, the ornate roofs and the quiet corners, everything felt cinematic. And I couldn't help but imagine what life must have been like back in the day. I wondered if at some point in time there was a girl like me, dressed in a hanbok like mine, walking through this very courtyard. What does she think about? Does she feel safe within these palace walls? Trapped? What does she dream of, and what stories does she have to tell? Eventually we looped back towards the front, and the contrast between the palace and the modern city skyline behind it felt like the perfect reflection of the day. A blend of old and new, history and everyday life. After returning our hanboks, we made our way to Ikseon-dong, which is not too far from Insa-dong. Ikseon-dong is famous for its hanok village atmosphere. Hanoks are traditional Korean houses, and here they've been preserved but creatively repurposed. Since Emily missed out on our first caricature earlier in the trip, we decided to get one done together today. So wholesome. By around 6:30 p.m, the area was buzzing, the streets were packed, and the smell of food was everywhere. We ended up at a Korean barbecue spot for dinner where I ordered a beef brisket soybean paste stew, and to this day it is still one of my favourite dishes I've tried. Easily top 3. Harrison was in charge of the grill and Emily went for bibimbap, and we even had some girls at the next table show us the local way of eating K-barbecue, which involved putting some garlic and kimchi on the grill too. Great idea. The sun set soon after and we made our way to Banpo Bridge along the Han River, which is a popular spot for both locals and tourists alike to watch the Rainbow Fountain show, and usually have some food like ramen. I'd seen it a lot on social media before, but I hadn't expected it to be that busy. I find myself wishing I'd live here. The city has such an effortless energy to it. There's always something happening, yet it never feels overwhelming. And more than anything, I love how safe it felt to be just out and about, even at night. If anything, that's when the city really comes alive, which honestly suits me perfectly. I am a bit of a night owl after all.
That's right. It's all about the mindset. Just focus on yourself. It's all about the mindset. Keep moving on.
We decided to get a bit closer to the water and managed to get a pretty good spot with a view of Seoul Tower in front of us. After a long day, we were just engrossed in our own thoughts and spent some time just sitting in silence. There was also a live performance behind us with a singing duo and people waving their flashlights. The Rainbow Fountain show ended up having a lot of classic English songs on their soundtrack, which we found funny because we were fully expecting K-pop. But it did mean we could sing along, so no complaints there. We stayed for a while watching the lights ripple across the water, and the day came to a close.